Hello and welcome to this course, The Write Your Mind, Applying Psychology Principles to Digital Copywriting. So as the title suggests, in this course, I will be breaking down the psychology behind writing, how you can use various principles and various psychological principles to your advantage in order to increase your quality of writing, in order to improve your overall process, and just to break it all down. So in this class, I will be covering authority. I'll be talking about reciprocity and rapport, then going on to social proof. Unit 4 will cover empathy and unconditional positive regard. And finally, I'll be talking about the idea of consistency. Now, if some of these titles don't really make sense, that is no problem because they will be further explained within the actual unit itself. So if you see on the right, you can see the whole course. You can go through each unit, and when you're done with the course, you can, of course, skip back and go through anything that you missed. Feel free to put any questions you have in the section down below, and I'll be doing my best to respond to any comments. But other than that, let's move ahead with the first class here. So let's talk about the first course here, the first part of this class, which is authority. So when it comes to the principle of authority in writing, what you want to consider is, first of all, how do we define authority? Well, it's defined as the capacity to influence others. Now, most of you probably already knew that, but when it comes to writing, you want to keep the idea of authority in the back of your mind because you want to become a figure of authority in the field that you want to go into, right? So if you just think about it logically, things that you write about that you're already in a figure of authority in, you will have a lot more trust and reliability when it comes to your actual writing. And similarly, in copywriting and digital marketing, if you think about people who write books, famous people, let's say, David Goggins, Elon Musk, those kind of people, if somebody is a big business person and they write a business book, they have a lot more reliability than somebody who hasn't had that experience. And there's also a difference between having that experience and being a figure of authority, right? So you want to present yourself with authority and present yourself with the knowledge of someone who knows what they're doing. So let's think about content marketing. Especially through high quality, insightful content, it helps to build authority, right? So when you have content and copywriting, let's say you have a LinkedIn profile and you write about building a business and you're a successful entrepreneur who's already built 2 or 3 businesses. Yes, you could put entertaining videos. Yes, you could put little quotes or whatever. But when it comes to writing and you can back it up with receipts and you can back it up with proof and so on, then the idea of authority will really raise your level. And not only that, but if you drop knowledge and become knowledgeable in that field and you give others that knowledge, then they will see you as a figure of authority, which in turn raises that overall ideal of authority, right? So it kind of positions you as that person in that niche to go to, to have that authority for you to have those opinions. And then you can use facts and information to present your arguments. And on top of that, your opinion will become proof itself. What I mean by that is if some people that are currently in the on the internet that are pretty famous are, for example, Andrew Huberman, right? We have Huberman, who is really going off right now on TikTok and YouTube and so on. And a lot of people will quote him and be like, well, Huberman said, and he only became that way because he has presented himself as a figure of authority. He knows what he's talking about, right? He is involved in the business. He's involved in the field that he's focused on, which is, self-improvement and all that stuff. So you can feel free to Google him if you're not aware of who that is. But the reason he's become that a figure of authority is because he has presented that knowledge. And now, what people will refer to him as proof, right? So let's say, as I said before, you Google something, you look at something from an article, and you will say, oh, in this article it says this. And now you can say, oh, Huberman in the podcast said this. He has become the figure of authority, and he has become the proof that you can use. And you can use that ideal in order to shift yourself as a figure of authority and use that in your content. Now let's move on to the psychology principle number 2, which is reciprocity and rapport. Now, when it comes to building rapport in writing, copywriting should focus not only on what is said, but how it is said. So what does that mean? Well, a lot of people say that, your tone can affect really what you say. And Yes, that is very important in the way you speak, but it's also very important when it comes to writing, right? You want to really think about who you're writing towards. So, when I say my second point, establishing rapport with the target audience is essential, you want to take that third point where I say marketers identify target markets and create customer profiles to tailor messages to specific audiences, right? So, you want to know who you're appealing to. You want to know who you're writing to because if you don't know who you're trying to attract, then how are you going to shift your tone in your writing, right? If your target audience is 20-year-old young men, you're going to talk differently than when your target audience is 60-year-old women, right? So depending on whatever product you have, people will respond to it differently. And don't let people tell you that, people don't have different ideas or opinions. There are general trends in the markets that you can use to your advantage in order to appeal to different customers. It's just a fact, right? People in North America will appeal to different things than people in Europe. So try to identify who you're looking for, right? Work backwards. Establish a target audience. Think about your ideal customer, right? This is a good exercise to do. If you look at your product, if you look at your content, if you look at your videos, whatever you're trying to do, right? Of course, some videos or some content and some products can stretch for, people from 18-year-old male to a 60-year-old woman, right? If it's a toilet plunger, everybody's going to want to need it, right? But still, you can try to picture a perfect customer. And if you don't have one perfect customer where it's very focused down, for example, if you have a men's shoe, then obviously it's going to be for men. And if it's a men's sports shoe, then it's more likely to be for men between the years of 18 and 40, right? So if you think about your shoe, or if you think about your product, or whatever it is, and if it's not super broad, then you can try to build the ideal customer. And if it is a little bit more broader, then you can build a range, right? So think about your target audience. See who would identify with your message. See who would identify with the message that you're trying to send, with the content that you're creating, and then work backwards, right? So think to yourself, okay, my customer is mainly men between the ages of 30 and 50, right? So not too young, but also not too old, right? Not seniors, right? From the 30 to middle aged, right? So think about how you're going to address that market. What do they like, right? How do they respond? Do some research and you can really work back and see how people respond to what you're addressing. And in order to do that, you of course have to start with what you actually want to target. So pick your target, customize your writing, customize your marketing to it, and then start writing. And keeping that in mind, you can more easily build rapport with these people and with this target audience, right? So, really, just keeping in mind who you're attracting is very, very important when it comes to building that relationship with your audience. And before you create your marketing, before you create your content, think about what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to it, right? And this will go a long way in really helping you form that rapport with your target audience. So let's move on to psychology principle number 3, which is social proof. Now, a lot of you might have heard of this already, but social proof is very, very important when it not just comes to writing, but when it comes to marketing, when it comes to building your product, when it comes to a lot of things, right? Social proof in marketing is so powerful. And just for people who don't know, basically, social proof is the idea that social proof involves people copying the actions of others due to achieve desired outcomes, right? Basically, social proof is the idea that if other people like it, I should like it too. And the easiest example is reviews, right? You go to a restaurant and you go on Google and you Google it, and you see that one restaurant has 1,000 5-star reviews, and then you look at another restaurant and you're trying to decide between the two, and the other restaurant has 2 4-star reviews. Right away in your mind, who do you think you're going to go to? Who are you going to eat at? Of course, you're going to go to the first one with 1,000 5-star reviews, right? If you go to the second one with 2 4-star reviews or 2 3-star reviews, why would that give you any sort of kind of inclination to go there, right? And that's the most sort of low-hanging fruit idea of social proof, right? These can get, of course, more complicated and a little bit more complex, but the idea is that if other people approve of it, then it's sort of a pre-approval for you to say, okay, this product is okay, this restaurant is good, this guy is cool, right? Because Think of other influencers as well, right? If you think of influencers, sometimes, yes, people can be famous and they have their content and they're funny, but a lot of times it's the idea that because they're already famous, they get even more famous, right? If somebody has 1 million followers, not just because of his reach and because maybe they're being pushed, but because other people see that he already has 1 million followers, it's easier for him to gain another 1 million followers than for someone else to gain his first 1 million followers, right? It's almost like making money, right? It's probably easier for someone with $1 million to make $100,000 than for you to make $10,000 with nothing or $100,000 with nothing, right? Just because you already have something to build off on. And so that's basically the idea of social proof. It's something to build off on and something to show off for others, right? So you can really use a variation of things in order to build that social proof, right? So on the second side, on the right side here, you can see you can use testimonials, you can use positive reviews, you can use case studies, and these are all powerful tools in digital marketing in order to influence your consumer behavior, right? So like I said, positive reviews. If you have two products and one of them has 100 reviews, 5-star, and the other one has 10 reviews of 4-star reviews, you're probably more likely going to get other customers interested in your product, right? I see it myself when you go on Amazon. A lot of their highest ratings are ordered just by the highest review ratings. You can even go when you go to sort, right? You can go best match, you can go best lowest priced, and then another one is best rating, right? So people just love to rely on others for reviews, which is fair enough. And then testimonials, right? A lot of people will use testimonials in order to show what they thought of the product or whatever it is, right? You will see this a lot for classes, for example, right? If somebody's selling an online course, you go on their website and people tell their success story. And yes, it's good for you as a customer to know how other people feel, but for the person selling it, it's also a great idea to show customers what their students have actually been through, right? If you look at a product and you have a little bit of information and you see the price, but you see no reviews, you see no comments, you see nothing, you're like, okay, maybe I'm intrigued, maybe it's a good product, and there you go. But if you see an online course on a website and you see 3 people with success stories, be like, this guy took me from $10,000 a year to $100,000 a year. This guy took me from 5,000 followers to 100,000 followers, right? And you see these success stories, you can be like, okay, if they did it, it sounds like it's working. I can do it myself as well, right? And you can use that in your content writing in order to, again, establish a little bit more of that authority, because it can help you build authority through social proof, right? And when it comes to marketing, when it comes to your content creation and content writing and digital writing, a lot of an important thing that you want to keep in mind is when it comes to social proof is you want to provide evidence that you're not just, saying, oh, this is good, trust me, this is good. You want to provide evidence that it's actually also providing results, right? And of course, this varies from product to product or whatever it is, right? If it's a phone case, then reviews will do one thing, 5-star reviews, and people will write some paragraph or some words with it, and you can read through it. But when it comes to your products, when it comes to your writing, and you can see that people are not just saying this is the best product, period. They're saying this is the best product because it prevented my phone from crashing. This is the best online course because it helped me go from 10,000 followers to 100,000 followers. So those kind of reviews are a lot more powerful than somebody saying, oh, this is a great course, I liked it. Not bad, but a better example would be, this is a great course because it helped me to do this and this. This is a great course because I was able to work from home and I quit my day job, right? So those kind of testimonials are very powerful, and you can rely on that social proof in order to build your credibility. You can use that social proof in order to show off your product. You can use that social proof in your writing in order to attract those customers and really show other people what you're doing and where those results are coming from. Now let's move on to psychology principle number 4, which is empathy and unconditional positive regard. What do I mean by that? Well, empathy and positive regard are crucial in clinical settings, but can be applied to marketing, because positive and empathetic messaging is more effective than scare tactics. What does that mean? Well, when it comes to content writing, when it comes to digital writing, when it comes to any kind of marketing, if you think about it, positive emotions trump negative all the time, right? And when I talk about that, it doesn't mean that there's no insight into what you're missing and showing what the product does, but rather using words that are empathetic while still pointing out that you need it, right? For example, if you're selling skis, right? You're not going to say, if you don't have these skis, you'll never be able to ski. If you have these skis, you'll always be last in line. But rather saying, these are the highest quality skis, right? These are the newest skis. These will help you be faster than the competition. These will help you be really use the slopes in order to go down faster, in order to be first, right? Of course, this was a bad example with skis, but you can apply it to anything, right? Look at the positive regard rather than the negative, right? Instead of saying, oh, if you don't use this product, you're going to miss out, say, using this product will help you do this, right? If you have a face cream, oh, if you don't use this face cream, you're going to look old in 5 years. But rather say, using this face cream, it will help prevent aging at a faster rate and make you look younger than you've ever before, even though the time goes by, right? Something like that. These are, of course, just rough examples, but I think you get the idea that you want to come at it from a empathetic and positive point, right? You don't want to put the customer down. You don't want to tell them how bad they are, but rather look at it from a loving perspective almost, right? Look at it from I understand what you're going through. This is why this product can help, right? Of course, negative enforcement, not going to say that it doesn't exist, and various marketers can use it, right? Especially people on the internet, people who sell courses like, you're broke, you don't have any money, buy this course and I'll save you. Sure, maybe for some people it works, but generally speaking, it's always more generally accepted for marketing to twist it in a positive way, even though they point out what the customer doesn't have, right? Maybe somebody doesn't need face cream at all, right? Maybe somebody can just sort of live their life and just age naturally, but they're going to point out that, I'm not going to say, if you don't have this face cream, you're going to age badly, but they will say that it might help in general, and it will help you become younger, and it will be better than any other face cream, right? So they're saying, like, it's not like they're saying you don't need any face cream, but people are saying this face cream is better than any other face cream, right? So the moral of the story is that you have to use your positive and empathetic way in order to appeal to the customer, right? You don't want to make them feel defensive. You don't want to insult them. You want to understand where they're coming from and then offer them a solution to a problem that maybe you don't even know that you have, but offer them a solution to a problem that you think they have and that you think you can solve, right? So really look at it from that perspective. Try to look at it from a positive perspective and really come at them in a non-negative way, but in an empathetic way to see where they're coming from, offer a solution to their problem, and then help them with whatever they have, right? And you can use that in writing in order to attract customers, in order to attract your audience, in order to appeal to your market, to your target audience. Now let's move on to psychology principle number 5 and the last principle here that I want to cover, and that is consistency. Now, this might seem like an obvious one, but I definitely want to talk about the psychology behind it and the idea behind it and how a consumer of your media, of your product, whatever it is, would look at it, right? So we're talking about the psychological principles, right? We're talking about human behavior. We're talking about how people would view your writing. And consistency in messaging is essential for maintaining that trust and credibility that you built, right? You built, in step 1, we built authority, right? We used social proof. We used everything that we had to build that credibility, right? We thought about people. We built that target audience person, right? Then we came at it from a positive way, and we can do everything. But if you're not consistent in your voice, it can distort that image that people have of you, right? And I can give you a few examples. So first of all, companies often create brand profiles in order to ensure a consistent voice and identity across various platforms, right? I'm sure if you have a business, if you have a brand, if you have a personal account, influencer, whatever you are, whatever the reason is you're watching this, you probably have more than one account, right? You have YouTube, you have Instagram, you have Twitter or X, you have TikTok, you have Instagram Reels, you have, Skillshare, whatever it is that you're using, it is very, very likely that you have more than one account. And how weird would it be in your head to treat one website as one thing, one account as one thing, and another one as one thing, right? You can adapt to the platform, right? You can just post a picture on Instagram and go on with your day. On Twitter, you can, drop some cool quotes, maybe some tidbits that you've learned. And then on YouTube, you can be a little bit more professional with videos and stuff like that. On Instagram stories or reels, maybe you can be a little bit more casual. You show pictures of your food, and then on YouTube you have your online courses, or you have your videos and your products, and then on Instagram you have a picture of you at an amusement park. That's totally valid, but you have to think about your consistency in your messaging, right, and who you are as a person. If you have a Twitch account, for example, and you're a streamer, right, and on YouTube you are one person, right? You don't swear, you do this, and then you go on your Twitter or you go on your Instagram, and all of a sudden you're dropping swear words. A lot of people probably don't care about it, but it is a little bit more inconsistent in who you are as a person, right? So try to really have a consistent voice and a consistent brand voice, not only in your writing, but in your various platforms that you have, right? Because sometimes it can really kind of affect how people look at you, right? And the best example I can give is this. Of course, this might be a little bit more of an extreme example, but let's say you go on a date with a girl or with a person or with your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, right? And you have a great first date, great second date, and then on the third date, all of a sudden maybe they become a little bit more closed off, right? In the first date they listened to you, and the second date they really wanted to know about you and your family and your hobbies, and they were very nice, and they were very nice to you and the waiter, and they were very nice to everybody they met, and they loved everything about what you're saying. They were listening about your problems. They listened to what kind of things you had to say, and then on the third day, all of a sudden they're rude to the waiter. They don't even care about what you're saying. They're not listening. They're looking out the window. In your head, it's probably like, oh, this is a disaster. I'm not going to go back for a fourth date. Something has gone wrong. She's changed her mind about me. She's changed her opinion of me. Whatever it is, of course, that would come to your mind. And the same thing can work with brands and with marketing, right? So you can look at it from that way. If you look at a brand and they behave this way, and this way, and you look at an influencer and he's talking about, digital marketing, he's talking about this, he's talking about this, he's talking about this, and all of a sudden you switched up, yes, you can shift your content, but not who you are as a person unless you sort of address it, right? Because when the inconsistency is apparent in different accounts and who you are as a person, then people can think you're just sort of putting on a fake persona in different avenues of your content, right? And of course, if you're on camera on YouTube, you're a little bit more hyper or active than you would be on a live stream, for example, because a YouTube video, let's say, is 10 minutes, that's cut, and a live stream is 2 hours and you're just being yourself. That's fine too. But when it comes to consistency in messaging, you want to just talk about who you are as a person, and you want to keep that voice the same. So think about that when creating, when writing, right? Think about your target audience, what they would think with every piece of content that you put out. Is this is aligned with my brand? And if it doesn't, then maybe address it, right? Say, I used to make digital marketing videos. Now I want to shift to vlogging because you guys liked vlogging last time I did this, for example, right? As an example. Then you can address it and move on. Great. But having a completely unexpected twist in your consistency and your messaging and your voice can really mess with people's perception of you as a brand, and it can wipe away that trust, right? Another great extreme example would be if somebody is a figure of authority, as we established earlier, is a figure of authority in a certain niche, in a certain field, right? They talk about self-improvement, they talk about digital marketing, they talk about marketing, or whatever it is. They talk about being your best self, and all of a sudden the next week they run some kind of scam. Or maybe they talk about being a healthy eater, right? They talk about having a great diet, and then you see a picture of them eating junk food the next day. And that's not a bad thing, but if they put that persona online and they have that creative voice of I've never eaten McDonald's, and the next day they go on Instagram, they post a story of them being on McDonald's, you'd think they're a liar, right? And there's certain ways that you can address that, but if you are one thing and you say you are one thing, you can't be inconsistent and then be someone else on a different platform, right? It's just not gonna hit that well with your audience, and you really have to consider that when building that content, right? And so whether it's copywriting, whether it's digital writing, whether it's marketing, you really have to consider keeping that consistent brand and a consistent voice with your accounts and everything that you create. And that's going to be it. So at the end here, I just wanted to wrap everything up a little bit and wanted to thank you for your time and thank you for watching, of course. And just to summarize everything and put it into a little short summary. First, we talked about authority, right? Establishing authority, making yourself a figure of authority in whatever niche or area that you are writing in, that you're presenting in, right? Whether it's digital writing, copywriting, or this sense marketing, basically all kind of connected to each other, of course. Build yourself as a figure of authority, right? Show that you know what you're talking about. Number two, reciprocity and rapport. Identify your target audience, right? Build a profile of who your perfect customer is. Think of what they would like, and then appeal to that customer with your writing. And you can build that rapport with them, build that relationship. Number three, social proof. People like what other people like. Very, very simple. It's as old as time and it will never change. People like what other people like. If 1,000 people give something a stamp of approval, the next person will take it a lot more safely and a lot more easy than other people. So use testimonials, use positive reviews, use quotes in your writing, use quotes in your marketing, write reviews in your products in order to appeal to people and show that what you've been doing is working, what you're doing is good for other people and they like it, right? And they're getting results. Number four, empathy and unconditional positive regard. Come from it, come from a positive view, right? Come from a positive perspective. Don't use negative reinforcement in order to put people down, make them defensive or anxious. Come look at it from a positive perspective, understand the problem, and show that you can solve it. Or if it's writing, show that you can entertain them, show what you can do for them from a positive way, right? Don't try to show what they don't have, but identify what they don't have and then show them how you can fix it or show them how you can help, but in a positive way, right? And then, of course, number five is consistency, and that's the consistency. Sure, in posting, always that's always a good tip, but I'm talking about more the consistency of your brand voice, right? More the consistency of who you are as a person, who you are as a company, who you are as a brand, and how that stretches across the different platforms, your different socials, and so on in your writing. Not even on the same platform, right? But you can write one thing today and another thing next year. So being consistent in your brand voice will help further build that voice of authority and that rapport that you've built with your customers and with your target audience, because you can build authority, you can build trust, you can build a relationship, and that can be wiped away in minutes, in one post, in weeks, whatever it is, if you change up too much on that consistency and who you are as a voice and who you are as a person, as a brand, whatever it is that you're writing for, right? So keeping that in mind, that's very, very important. And of course, that's going to be it from me, John Valentine. Make sure to click on my profile and check out all videos that I have. I have a bunch of videos live right now, a bunch of classes talking about everything digital marketing, from Instagram Reels to building your Twitch brand to YouTube to Substack, building newsletters, writing, and very, very similar to videos to what I have right now. So make sure to check that out and leave a positive review. Also, leave your comments in the section below, and I will try to get to those as much as I can. And of course, check out the class project. I will also leave feedback on any projects being left on this class. So thank you so much for joining me today in this class. My name has been John Valentine, and I will catch you in the next one.